Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you on a Monday night. The Democrats pushed hard for that extra $600 for those on unemployment. Well, now they're trying to get back to work, and the $600 may be costing us more than we actually thought. $600 a week. I thought we'd talk about that with Rachel Greszler, who is a research fellow in economics, budget, and entitlements at the Heritage Foundation. Rachel, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me, Lars.
So what do we do when we have a group of people who were employed at jobs? They were unexpectedly unemployed as the rush to shut down America happened. And now that they're unemployed, they're actually in some cases making more money than they were when they were actually making a job. And I think some of them find it attractive. So attractive, they're actually telling their employers, I don't want to come back to work. If I come back to work, I have to work and I make less money. How did we end up with a program that creates that kind of perverse incentive?
Well, that's exactly the problem here, is that in trying to get benefits out the door quickly and trying to create a higher benefit level than we normally provide through unemployment, Congress just said we're going to give everybody $600 per week more. But what that's done is made it that a majority of Americans can actually make more by losing their jobs than they can by keeping their jobs. And so we already think that this has impacted the number of people who have filed for unemployment claims. And now, as we're starting to see some states reopen, it's going to be difficult for some of those businesses to be able to get their workers to come back and to fill those positions and start producing goods and services again. And we've already heard from restaurant owners and the hotel industry in particular, where you tend to have lower wage earners. You know, somebody who's making about the 25th percentile of earnings, they're going to get an extra 50% every week if they stay home versus if they go back to work. That's a difference of $5,000 over the course of 4 months. So this is a really bad situation, and we have put people in that they can make more from not working than by working.
Okay, now, Rachel, at least on paper, and you feel free to tell me, Lars, what a naive view of this. But if you've got people who had a job, they got sent home, and now their employer says, we're going to reopen, and we want to hire you back. When the employee says, I'm not coming back to work, boss. I'm making more money, and I like sitting on the couch playing video games all day long. Isn't the simple solution then that their employer tells the unemployment division, the employment office, my worker won't come back to work? And at that point, the employment division says, guess what? Your benefits just ended. Or why is it not that simple?
Well, part of it is that simple, and that's the case with the state's own programs. Usually you only have state-level unemployment insurance, but now we have kind of two layers of it, and that additional $600 from the federal government is not contingent on the same requirements that normally apply at the state level. I will say it has been helpful to see some of the governors getting out there and sending the message to workers saying, look, our system was designed to be there for people who don't have job options. And if you are given an option to come back, you need to take that or you can't file for these benefits. And they can do that for their own benefits that replace about 50% of workers' wages. But the way that Congress worded this $600 additional benefit, it actually does allow workers to just say, I am choosing to not go to work because of any reason related to COVID-19. So presumably they could at least still get that $600, but their state may be able to cut them off from their 50% benefit.
So in other words, they won't get the regular unemployment benefits anymore, but they'll still be getting $2,400 or $2,500 a month for doing absolutely nothing. And when does that end?
That ends on July 31st, but we are already hearing calls to potentially extend that. And we don't even know yet if that's necessary. We haven't seen what it looks like. It's still the very beginning of May, and that's 3 months off. So I think it's too soon to be talking about potentially extending this benefit.
I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I'm talking to Rachel Greszler, who is a research fellow in economics, budget, and entitlements at Heritage. But, Rachel, I just found this out. An awful lot of the school systems have decided to furlough some of their teachers, but only a small furlough. They've told them you're getting 1 day a week off. Well, that's 20% of their regular paycheck. At least in my neck of the woods, they're telling these teachers, by putting you off work on Fridays, let's say that's the day off that you get once a week, you qualify for the $600 a week. And so you have teachers who, at least in my neck of the woods, are reasonably well paid already, who are saying, so I get to work 4 days a week instead of 5, and because my paycheck is cut by 20%, I get an extra $600 a week from this entitlement. That's an that makes it even worse. These are truly not people who are unemployed. They're still working 4 days a week, and they're getting 80% of their regular paycheck plus 600, which puts them again well ahead of the game.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard about those types of situations, but unfortunately, something that was set up to try and help people during a short-term crisis and bridge the gap so that people don't lose all of their incomes is being, abused and misused in ways that weren't intended.
Well, and I don't know why. I mean, for all the years and decades that the Congress writes legislation, you'd think that some of these people writing these plans would know you don't write these kinds of things into them. Apparently, the requirement to get the $600 is that you've lost at least 10% of your job. Well, they assume that a lot of people would have lost 100% of their previous job, but apparently the threshold for getting the $600 is 10% of your employment. So somebody who loses 1 day every 2 weeks of work is going to qualify for $600 extra per week, which means there's almost nobody who isn't going to end up ahead of the game financially, except, of course, the taxpayers.
Exactly. And, people realize this. There were members of Congress, particularly in the Senate, that tried to stop this and say, hey, let's just at least cap it at 100% of people's previous wages so that they don't actually make more on unemployment. But that was blocked, and some of those members on the left were saying, hey, it's not the worst thing in the world if we force employers to raise their wages to try and get the workers to come back. But that's not recognizing the reality of the situation, that employers can't just raise wages by 50% and then hike up their prices also when we're already in an economic downturn. That's just going to cause those businesses to have to shutter their doors for good.
Well, I'm hoping that a lot of those employers out there will say, if we can legitimately give you your job back, you need to come back to work. If you decline to come back to work, then we tell the employment division they're not willing to come back to work, and they are therefore not entitled to unemployment. They may get the extra $600, but they won't get, they won't get at least unemployment plus $600 a week for not doing anything and refusing to come back to work. Rachel, thanks so very much. I appreciate you taking the time tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.